Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the New Forest. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're going to be doing another one of our New Forest river walks. We've done similar adventures in the past. We've followed the entire course of the Dogkennel Water, the Highland Water and the Burley River. And today we're going to be following, say, the entire course of a river. Well, it's got 4 different names. It starts high up on the Ocknell Plain and ends up just north of Blackensford, where it joins the Highland Water, and it becomes the Lymington River. Now, as far as my starting point is concerned, well, I'm located just to the north of the Slufters Inclosure on the Ocknell Plain, in the sort of northern part of the New Forest. It's about 6 miles west of Cadnam and 7 miles northwest of Lyndhurst. So let me tell you exactly our plan for today. As you can see, I've got another one of my Dave Ford special maps with a lot of sellotape. I think I'll put a map up on screen to explain it in more detail. Now the river starts off just north of the Slufters Inclosure, where it's called Bratley Water, and it flows south. It then goes under the A31 at Bratley Arch. We might have to do a possible detour there, continuing southwards. It then flows through the North Oakley Inclosure, where it joins another stream and becomes the Blackensford Brook. The river then goes past the Underwood Inclosure through some private land at Burley Lodge, and we might have to do a small detour there. We meet up with it again at the Dames Slough Inclosure, where it heads east and has a new name, Black Water, and we've got a fair bit of exploring to do there. And then it continues through the Vinny Ridge Inclosure onto Fletchers Inclosure, where it changes its name again to become the Fletchers Water, and finally to a place called the Queen Bower, just north of Brockenhurst, where it joins the Highland Water. So it's a journey of about 7 miles. Can it be done? How much of it is bog? How close can we keep to the river? Well, we'll see how it goes. It should be good fun, and I expect we'll see some interesting things along the way. Now, I'm filming towards the end of July. There's a bit of cloud about at the moment, but the sun is out. I think the cloud's going to burn off. Should be a perfect day for walking. Do come along with us. Well, the best place to start one of these river walks is at the source. And well, it's sort of in front of me here. We're high up on the Ocknell Plain. Indeed, the highest point of the New Forest, Piper's Weight, is about a mile or so to the north. And the source of the Highland Water that we've walked in the past isn't that far away to the east of here. And well, just looking to the north here, you've got this little valley, and you can see where there's a sort of groove in the centre where in the winter that would be full of water. But this is our first sighting of water, and well, it just shows how wet it has been this year, because normally in July it's bone dry here. But even this high up in its course, there's evidence of a fair bit of water. So let's kick on with the walk, initially heading southwards. And you can see there's a fair few pools of water up here, and that's the direction we're heading, through an enclosure called the Slufters Inclosure, which is about 37 acres. I think it was enclosed in 1862 with oak and more recently conifers. Well, we haven't come that far. The source is literally, what, a couple of 100 yards away to the north, but there's a real semblance of a stream already. And as I said before, normally July and August, this would be completely bone dry. So it just shows how bad the rain has been really over the last 12 months or so. Oh, I do love these little sections of the New Forest. I was going to say peaceful, but you can just hear the busy A31 in the background, which we will be going under at some stage, but even so, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Oh, this is so typical of a New Forest stream. It doesn't tend to go dead straight. It slowly meanders and snakes its way through. And that's an important thing to remember, because I'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the walk. Well, this is interesting. Just a tiny little section of the river has been sort of fenced off. It looks fairly new fencing. Whether they're going to do a bit of restoration here, I don't know. I mean, okay, the bank just beyond there looks a little bit eroded, but I've seen a lot worse. I'll have to do some investigating later on. The first dog dip of the day. I expect there'll be a fair few of these, because it's going to be quite a warm day. I mean, I've got plenty of fresh water for both of us, but it's always nice to dip your paws in and cool down. And the water's fairly fresh as well. This may sound a very strange thing to say. This is one of my favourite trees. I've passed it a fair few times over the years. Obviously it was blown over a long time ago, but I love its shape. It's almost sort of looks like a skeleton. And I always say hello to it when I pass by. Sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? I know. Now we've only been going, well, probably only half a mile or so, and from time to time you get these pools formed. This one's very popular with livestock. You see a lot of cattle using it. You can see why. Well, this is interesting here. This is a little feeder stream that goes into the river, and you'll see some stakes and what looks like the remains of a bale of heather. And this would have been put in by the authorities some years ago to sort of, well, slow down the flow of water going into the river. It helps prevent erosion and just spreads the water out into the sort of surrounding area a little bit better. Well, we're now at the southern end of the Slufters Inclosure. From here the river continues south under the A31, goes through the Bratley Arch. Now I don't think I can fit through the Bratley Arch itself, so I'm going to have to do a little detour to the east, go under the A31, and I'll pick up the river on the other side. Oh, it's the perfect time of year for heather. Just beginning to flower now, been out a week or so. Well, we've made it to the southern side of the A31, and just behind that fence there is the Bratley Arch. I can't actually see, but presumably there must be some form of arch underneath the road. And here the river is called the Bratley Water, and indeed the Bratley Inclosure is just over to the left there. It was an enclosure established in 1828, originally with a lot of oak I'll continue to head southwards. Quite a challenging part of the walk actually, because although a lot of the ground is quite firm, from time to time you come across thick mud and bog, but we're managing to get around it so far. But just look at the side of the banks of the river there. Quite deep, aren't they? It just shows that, well, at times of the year, especially in the winter, this can become quite a raging torrent, even this high up in the course. Oh, now we're away from the noise of the A31. We're back to peace and quiet. Of course, what's so lovely is this part of the forest. Very few people actually visit, so you really have got it to yourself. Yes, on the eastern side of the river, very much your typical New Forest heathland. There's an old forest saying about the soil around here. Under bracken lies gold, under gorse lies silver, and under heather lies lead. Another quite idyllic section of the river, still very much this meandering route. I keep going on about saying how peaceful it is here, and the tracks that I've been following alongside have just been made by ponies and cattle. Our first sort of footbridge of the walk. I expect we'll come across a few of these from now on. And we're very shortly going to go into the North Oakley Inclosure, but we're still very much heading southwards. Well, this is where the Bratley Water starts to become quite significant. There's one of the authorised New Forest cycle routes that crosses it, and almost like a little weir here. There's quite a brown tinge to the bottom, mixture of quite a bit of iron content in the soil, but also obviously going through peatland and bogland as well. And a good place for a dog dip as well. Just checking out for those squirrels though. What a beautiful sight. Isn't that lovely? Well, this is footbridge number 2, and just a little bit further south is a place called Smoky Hole. Of course, in days gone by, this area was important for charcoal burning. There's quite a flow now to the Bratley Water. Of course, we're in the North Oakley Inclosure, which is one of the biggest enclosures in the New Forest, established in 1853, initially with a lot of oak and beech. Morning. That's the way to travel.
BBC One.
Oh. Oh, isn't that brilliant? Oh, he's going in really deep now, almost up to chest height. But it's perfect really that he can cool down ever so often. Yeah, good lad. All right. Is there some sort of event on today?
This is just us.
Oh, I've seen quite a few of you about today.
Oh, have you?
Well, maybe a couple of others. So it's lovely.
We're meeting some friends up in the ornamental drive later.
Oh, how often do you manage to get out?
As often as we can now. We're
Yeah.
4 times a week. Depends.
Oh,
Depending on weather.
yeah.
It's a bit weather dependent, it's very true.
A beautiful horse. Enjoy the rest of your ride. Well, a really interesting part of the route now. On the left-hand side, you've got the Bratley Water, but coming in from the right is a stream from the west. Over there is the Blackensford Bottom and Blackensford Hill. And here, where the two rivers or streams meet up, the next section of the river is now known as the Blackensford Brook. Bridge number, oh, I've lost count already. But this is where we say goodbye temporarily to the Blackensford Brook, because just a little bit further south from here is private land, all part of Burley Lodge. So we're going to take a little detour to the east through the Ocknell Inclosure. Well, there's a cracking ant's nest there. Of course, the southern wood ants, huge, much bigger than our garden ants you see at home. Of course, they love it. This is their perfect environment, beavering away. Whew. Well, it's coming out to 1 o'clock and a gentleman has got to take lunch sometime. We're about halfway. We've just come through the Ocknell Inclosure and we're shortly going to meet up with the river again. But time for doggy sticks and some ham rolls. Whew. Shame there's no pub on the route. Well, we're back on the road again after lunch and we've joined up with the river again, a place called Dogkennel Bridge. And the river's changed its name once more. It's just joined up with the Black Water stream that comes in from the west, and so it's known as the Black Water from now on. Now what's interesting, if I look over to my left, if you look at an 1898 map, there was once a huge pond or lake here with a boathouse. Indeed, a slightly earlier map records it as a decoy pond, basically created to catch ducks. I presume they made it by damming up the stream. Indeed, a map from 1815 shows an even bigger lake here. But if you look at a 1961 map, it had all gone. I guess they just took the dam away and allowed it to revert to land. Certainly there are all trees here now. Now we're actually in the Dames Slough Inclosure now, and this little pond here is just to the south of the river. And the reason I've come to have a look at it, well, if you look at an 1898 map, you'll see that the river is dead straight for a section. It's now meandering, but back in the 19th century, when a number of the new enclosures were created following the Deer Removal Act of 1851, the Victorians decided to drain certain areas, including this one. So they cut a deep channel with drains coming into it along the route. There's quite a few of these in the New Forest, and we'll see one later on. But the Victorians weren't actually aware of the consequences of their actions. The problem is that by having a straight channel, the water flows very fast and it erodes the banks very quickly. And it also means there's no seasonal flooding to enrich the surrounding grassland and limited river habitat diversity. But about 15 years ago-ish, the authorities decided to fill in these straight ditches and re-establish the old original meandering route of the river. And that meant that the water would slow down and indeed flood the land at times. Basically, the river naturally regulates itself, allowing the land to slowly release the water downstream. Sadly, the beech trees that had become established after the ditches were made were affected by the sudden change in water content in the soil, but basically their roots were waterlogged, and as a result many have died. So this section of the Black Water here is back to how it used to be, the natural meandering snaky look that it had before. And another opportunity for a drink. Well, we've made it to Blackwater Bridge, where the river goes underneath the busy Lyndhurst to Christchurch Road. And we've just got to cross over the top of it. Well, we're making really good progress now. We're actually in the Vinny Ridge Inclosure, which was established in 1859, nearly 360 acres. Whew, it's getting hot now. Well, just a little update on the route. This is looking back to the west, very much a typical sort of forest route through the trees. So we've got the Vinny Ridge Inclosure on the right, and on the left, or a few hundred yards or so onto the left, is the Rhinefield Sandies Inclosure. But it's a beautiful part of the forest, it really is. Just behind that fence there you can see some folk walking about. That's the Blackwater Arboretum, and it's fenced off to keep the ponies and deer out, because well, inside there's a tremendous collection of trees. And if you want to know more, do check out our video that we did a few years ago now, and our walk in there. Super place to visit. Well, one of the great things about the Blackwater Arboretum is there's a car park and there's an ice cream van. Perfect. What have we got? Raspberry and clotted cream. Shall I? All right then. You want to quality test it first? Oh, fortified by my ice cream. Logan wasn't impressed, but he had one of his doggy treats anyway. So we're going to continue heading eastwards, picking up with the Blackwater once again, which is looking quite serene. I love the reflections from the sun on the water there. Isn't it stunning? Oh, I think this is our most impressive bridge so far. So we've just come through the Fletchers Inclosure. Again, quite an old one, established 1829, I think. And of course, now the river is known as Fletchers Water, its fourth name so far. And I say the landscape round here continues to be quite stunning. Now this is actually another interesting part of the river, because there was once another one of those big drainage ditches here. But an 1814 map doesn't show any ditch at all, but a 1961 map does show a dead straight ditch. But I believe within the last 15 years or so, it's been filled in. And well, I'll put up a map that shows the old straight bit and the new meandering bit. Basically, it's been restored back to how it used to be. Well folks, we've come to the end of our journey. At this point, the Fletchers Water from the west joins up with the Highland Water that comes down from the north. The two carry on together for about 100 yards or so. They're then joined up with the Ober Water, which comes in from the west at Boulderford Bridge. And then the river becomes the Lymington River and flows out to sea at Lymington. We hope you enjoyed our walk today. The river that had 4 names. We've had a lot of fun doing it. We've got about another half mile or so to go into Brockenhurst. Pay a visit, I think, to the Snake Catcher pub for a quick ale, and his lordship can have his crisps. If you enjoyed the walk, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment. And well, all I can say is until we meet again, thanks for watching and cheerio. Good boy.